We're going to ask everybody to please take their seats because we promised to get you out of here on time, so we want to resume our program. What? Feel a little bit like a teacher trying to corral the class. So one bright spot for the Jewish community this year was the success of the Israeli Olympics team at the Summer Games in Paris. Israeli athletes sent a message of resilience to the world, winning 7 medals when Israel was fighting its war of survival. Peter Palchek is a 2-time Israeli Olympic bronze medalist in judo and Israel's most decorated judo fighter. Despite facing numerous injuries and setbacks, he arrived unranked at the Paris Olympics and still achieved his 2nd medal. Peter also founded the Palchik Foundation to support Israeli athletes pursuing their goals without financial obstacles. Please join me in welcoming Peter.
I thought I was small and nobody will not notice me. Okay, guys, so I stand here before you today as the most decorated judo fighter in Israel. A European champion, world championship medalist, and world's #1 judo fighter in 2020, and 2-time Olympic medalist. For 20 years, I've proudly represented Israel on the world's biggest stages, and I stand for the values of peace, brotherhood, and friendship. I stand for the values of respect, perseverance, and determination. When you are an Israeli and a Jew athlete, you carry a double, even triple responsibility. You don't just represent yourself, you represent your country, but also your people, the Jewish people all around the world. Unfortunately, for the years I've faced anti-Semitism simply because I represented the state of Israel. Athletes who refused to shake my hand or compete against me, not because they feared me, but because of what I represent. Since the massacre on October 7, Israel has been fighting a war against terrorism. It's a horrible war against Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and missiles fired at us from Iraq, Iran, and Yemen. On that horrific Saturday, more than 1,200 men, women, and children were brutally murdered. We lost some of our best people in what may be the most devastating terrorist attack since 9/11. In my view, this isn't just Israel's war. It's a war of light against darkness. It's a fight for the values and the future of the Western world. And we, the Israelis, just happen to be on the front lines. Since the war began, we witnessed a spike in anti-Semitism worldwide, reaching levels we haven't seen since the 1930s in Europe, an alarming rise in incidents and violence. Personally, I was honored with a title I would have gladly avoided during the Paris Olympics, the most threatened athlete. In the weeks leading up to the Games, I received specific threats against my life and my family. During the Games, I was placed under extraordinary protection by the French counter-terrorism unit. I wasn't allowed to leave the Olympic Village without an escort and had to travel separately from my team, even on training sessions. Imagine this for a moment: an athlete competing in the greatest sporting event on earth while his wife is 9 months pregnant. The most critical moment of my career, and my wife's only request is that I come home alive. Not a medal, not a professional achievement, just come home alive. Does that sound reasonable? At the Paris opening ceremony, held for the first time on the Seine River in an open-air event, I had the honor of being Israel's flag holder for the whole delegation. A prestigious moment for any athlete. You should ask LeBron, I'm sure he would agree. But does it make sense to step onto a boat on the Seine River under threat? To think about an escape route, how and where to jump into the water if shooting starts? Just 2 weeks earlier, someone had managed to shoot at President Trump's event. All this simply because I'm a Jew and an Israeli. Jewish and Israeli, sorry. Facing the fear, I realized I had no choice but to overcome it. I have to go all in with everything I've got. And so, on August 1st, 2024, I stepped onto the judo mat carrying a tremendous emotional burden. With the wounded nation behind me, with the people searching for light and hope. And there is no greater pride than being Israel's first medalist at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Since my win, this is my third visit at the United States, and another extended visit is already planned for March 2025. I've met thousands of Jews across the country, from the east to the west coast, but unlike visits before 2024, this time they encountered something new. I've encountered something new. Young Jewish people and adults alike searching for hope here in the land of the free, in the world's greatest democracy, because even here in the United States, Jews are being targeted in 2024. Young men on campuses are being beaten. Young women are harassed and threatened. At one meeting, a young woman shared how during Shabbat dinner with her family, her roommates barged in, threw down the mezuzah, and threw her belongings out of the window. Another student told me that with only 5% of Jewish students on his campus, they feel defeated before they even begin. They just hope to finish their studies safely. We live in crazy times where it's hard to distinguish between right and wrong if anyone thinks it's acceptable to chase an Orthodox Jew down the street or harasses Jewish students, or worse. It starts on campus. It spreads to the streets. It escalates dramatically on social media, and eventually, it leads to murder. We've seen this story before as a nation. And we like to say that Israel and the United States share the same values, that there is no greater friend to Israel than America. Yeah. You don't have to be a statesman or a politician to know that it's true. But as an ambassador of Israeli sports, I urge us to connect through sports as well. Sports should be a bridge between nations. It should break down walls and unite us all, as it has done throughout history. I have a dream, said Martin Luther King, and I too have a dream where athletes, leaders, mayors, and heads of state fight together for the good in our world, where we say a resounding no to every expression of anti-Semitism around us and do everything we can to uproot it from its roots. In a world of social media and AI, there are sadly a lot of fakes. In my world, as an athlete, there is no room for it. If you cheat, you're out of the community. So let's build a better world together. Let's ensure no one lives in fear, not at the Olympics, not on campuses, and not in our streets. We can do this together. I will continue to fight on a judo mat and beyond, and I hope to see all of you again before the 2028 Olympic Games soon. Thank you. עם ישראל חי, חברים.
Thank you so much for that, Peter. Now, please join me in welcoming the Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles, Israel Bakar.
Good evening. Distinguished mayors, honored guests, and friends. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude to Mayor Friedman, the mayor of Beverly Hills, and to Sasha, CEO of CAM, for organizing this timely and critical summit. We gather here tonight, united by a shared vision, an America free from the scourge of anti-Semitism. This is not just an aspiration. It is a call to action. Mayors hold a pivotal role in this fight. You are not merely decision makers. You are the leaders of your communities and guardians of their values. And in this moment, your leadership is more vital than ever. We have seen the alarming reality. Those who burned the Israeli flags on the street of New York also burned the American flags. This disdain is not limited to Israel. It extends to the ideals of liberty and justice that defines this nation. This was also demonstrated when a monument near Union Station, Washington, D.C. was defaced with pro-Hamas graffiti following the horrific events of October 7th. Such acts are not isolated incidents. They are clear and direct threats to America. But we are not here merely to dwell on challenges. We are here to take actions. As mayors, you are uniquely positioned to take the lead, the charge. By working with law enforcement to safeguard Jewish institutions, enacting policies to combat hate crimes, or implementing educational programs. Your actions have the power to save lives and educate posterity. Let me share with you the story of Lucas Carrer, the mayor of a small island in Greece. During the Nazi occupation, the mayor was ordered to hand over a list of Jewish residents. He refused. Instead, he submitted his own name and that of the local bishop. This courageous act served nearly 300 lives. It remains a testament to the profound impact of morally sound leadership. Like Mayor Carrer, the choices you make can have significant influence. The devastating results of unchecked hate are all too clear. Last year, over 10,000 incidents of anti-Semitism were reported. This, ladies and gentlemen, represents a clear and present danger. Mayors, your vigilance is needed against the bottom-up tactics of radical organizations like BDS and SJP. They seek to infiltrate municipalities, school boards, and campuses under the guise of social justice. Their aim is to sow division and animosity. Do not fall into their trap. And make no mistake, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Full stop. And you have the power to ensure that anti-Semitism finds no sanctuaries in your cities. Your courage to stand against this is paramount. Let me leave you with this. Leadership is not about comfort. It is about courage. It is about standing firm when the winds of hatred blow strongest. It is a path that demands fortitude and strength. In this journey, I offer you the ancient Hebrew priestly blessing. For centuries, it has brought strength and hope. יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you peace. May this blessing protect and inspire you to lead with courage and conviction. God bless America. God bless the state of Israel. Good night.
Thank you so much to the Consul General. You know, LA is home to the second largest Jewish community in the United States. And to help us better understand LA's vibrant Jewish life, I'd like to welcome my good friend Orna Wollins, chair of the board of the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles.
Good evening. I am so overwhelmed to be at this summit here, this 2024 Mayor's Summit Against Anti-Semitism. My name is Orna Wollins. I have the great privilege of chairing the board of JFED LA, our Los Angeles Jewish Federation. And look at this room. To be here with all of you is energizing, and it is so encouraging. So thank you. As the daughter of two Holocaust survivors who were among the few Jewish children to live to adulthood, I must say that I am overwhelmed. My father hid in the forests of Czechoslovakia, and my mother was liberated from the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp at the age of 11. In the wake of today's brazen, fast-paced, and far-reaching anti-Semitism, my 92-year-old mother recalls the apprehension, the sense of foreboding, the doom, and the fear that she felt as a little girl. And this breaks my heart. At the same time, I stand before you with a heart full of gratitude. Your unwavering support and engagement in our vital work of combating anti-Semitism, your deep concern, and your raised voices in defense of our community means so much. Thank you. Thank you for standing with us. Over the course of this summit, we will explore how we can transform our communities to strengthen our resilience and combat hate. At JFED LA, our robust community engagement team tackles anti-Semitism in a variety of ways. In this large, diverse city of ours, with 640,000 Jews, we build meaningful relationships across neighborhoods. We work to break down the silos, the perceived fears, and the isolation. We increase dialogue and action, seeking ways to unite us. Allow me to highlight a few ways we at JFED LA approach our work during this challenging and complicated year. We protect our communities. When our community felt under siege after a violent protest at a synagogue only a few blocks from here, we, within 24 hours, helped organize a gathering of Jewish leaders and a press conference with the officer of Mayor Karen Bass and LA City Councilwoman Katie Yaroslavsky. to denounce the violence, and to formulate a plan how we can best protect the Jewish community. 2 days later, we hosted a virtual community security briefing with the mayor, elected officials, law enforcement, and security experts, drawing over 1,000 community members. During this time of crisis, our federation helped restore community confidence and keep our city stable. We strengthen our civic muscle. This year, we brought our largest and most diverse delegation to date to Sacramento as part of JPAC's Capital Summit Day. We also included many of Los Angeles' top civic leaders. Together, we elevated our shared concerns and advanced our policy and our priorities, such as the expansion of the California State Nonprofit Security Grant Program. This program helps nonprofits that experience hate increase their physical security protection. We work to foster allyship. We organize impactful programs to educate, to build bridges, and to bring Angelenos together. From our interfaith Passover Seder to our Jewish American Heritage Month celebration at City Hall, as well as our upcoming LA Leaders Hanukkah celebration, also at City Hall, we develop strong relationships that uplift our community and our city. We want you to know that mayors are essential to all of the initiatives I just described. Your leadership, your decisive action, and your ability to support a community in need is critically important. Again, on behalf of the Los Angeles Jewish Federation and the Los Angeles Jewish community, please know that your friendship and your allyship are deeply appreciated. Your presence sustains us and gives us hope for a brighter future. May we go from strength to strength together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Orna. You know, the city of New Orleans is famous for its rich diversity and culture, but it's also home to one of the oldest Jewish communities in the United States, dating back all the way to 1724. So please welcome New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell.
Well, good evening. Good evening, and thank you to my brother Mayor Friedman for the personal invitation to join you all here in Beverly Hills. But I would say, more importantly, it is really an honor and a privilege to be amongst my brother and sister mayors from across the United States of America as we stand together to stand against hate in all forms. And the city of New Orleans, absolutely, culture binds us together. We're making sure that we are an inclusive community and one, again, that stands against hate in every form. Not picking and choosing when you want to stand up and sit down, but understanding that consistency is key. When we stand up and we're unified, it sends the strongest message possible across this country. It does. And so before coming out this evening to the gala, I was listening to the news, something I don't do much in New Orleans. But I said, well, let me take a little chance. And so in doing so, one of the biggest topics of this evening was the rise in hate crimes in Los Angeles County. But here it is. What we know as mayors is just not one city. So while I'm talking, and they showed and talked about LA County, we're here because we recognize that the need to stand up against hate in this country, it really does start with us in our cities. So I am proud to be with you tonight, tomorrow through Friday, so that we can continue not only to stand together, but to learn from one another, to become stronger together, and display what we know, courage, the courage that it takes and that it is required to be consistent. It matters. So I'm also here to recognize and honor a mayor who has been on the front line, who has been a true inspiration. He hasn't wavered at all. Looking at him made me even more confident to stand against it in terms of anti-Semitism in the city of New Orleans. When protesters came to one of our colleges, I said, oh no, like my mother said, you have to nip it in the bud. And we did. But we're here to make sure that, again, we're standing together, and our brother, Brett Smiley, he's the mayor of Providence, Rhode Island. He has been, again, not only displaying courage, but he has been intentional about building community, building a force that stands with him. And for that, we want to congratulate him, but because of that, we are presenting him with the CAM Advocacy Award tonight. Please give it up. And I do need the award. I need the award. Yes. So, Brother Mayor, on behalf of not only CAM, but on behalf of all the mayors, I will say not only that are here, but we know we had brothers and sisters who also wanted to be here. But we're representing the United States of America tonight, and we're standing unified with you in your leadership, and we want you to keep on going, because guess what? You're bringing us all along right there with you in our communities as well. So let's give it up for our mayor, Brett Smiley. Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island. Give me a hug. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's hard following the mayor of New Orleans, and I'm a mild-mannered guy from Providence, Rhode Island, and I don't bring it like she does. But it's an honor to be here. I want to thank the entire team from Beverly Hills for hosting us, the CAM team for your incredible advocacy throughout the year, Sasha, and the rest of your team. And to all my mayors who are here from across North America, and Canada, support for Israel and steadfast support to stamp out anti-Semitism in our community is in fact the bipartisan issue, perhaps one of the last bipartisan issues. And so I had to chuckle a little bit when the great leader from Nassau County was speaking, because we come from very different places. I come from a very liberal New England college town, and yet we stand in the same place when it comes to bias and hatred and the oldest discrimination in the world, that is anti-Semitism. Rhode Island is proud to have the oldest synagogue in America, Truro Synagogue in Newport, Rhode Island. Every year we read a letter from George Washington that he wrote to the synagogue, and we are proud of our vibrant Jewish community. We have strong Jewish institutions, and this organization, CAM, has given us a to-do list that we are very proud to have implemented. Mayors like to say we get things done, and you give us a task, and we'll get it done. We're very practical, pragmatic people. And when Mayor Trantalis from Fort Lauderdale hosted us last year, I walked away with a 10-point action plan written by CAM on how cities can help stop the scourge of anti-Semitism, and I'm proud to say that in Providence, Rhode Island, we've done all of them. And so we've adopted the IRA standard. We, as like a lot of liberal cities, have a very robust DEI program, but when I got elected 2 years ago, I sat down with the director and said, where's anti-Semitism in our DEI programming? And it is now part of the training for all new city employees. We train all new police officers in anti-Semitism. We support our community institutions. And last year, standing on Mayor LeVar Stoney's shoulder of the good work that he had done the year before, I was proud to organize the United States Conference of Mayors in gathering other mayors from around the country to declare May Jewish American Heritage Month. 174 mayors signed this year. And as has been spoken about many times tonight, the reality is one of the places experiencing the most harm and some of the residents of my community feeling the most pain are those Jewish students on our college campuses. We have 5 colleges in Providence, including an Ivy League school and a world-class arts institution, and in those type of places, these hateful, uninformed protests have been able to fester and flourish at times. And so when we signed this year's proclamation for Jewish American Heritage Month, we did it at Brown RISD Hillel to show the students there that their city and their mayor and their community stands with them and that they have a heritage that is worthy of celebration, that it is not just about pain, but it is also about all of the great things that come with being Jewish. And so we are going to continue to lead by example in Providence, and I know that my colleague mayors from around the country and around North America will do the same. It is our obligation to continue to stand up and speak out. I'll close with one last thought. As I said earlier, mayors are sort of over the top in our pragmatism. We like to focus on the things that matter, and we like to get things done. And many of our city councils, and my city council as well, have been waylaid by nonsense and hateful ordinances to condemn the government in Israel, that to try to speak out about the war. And what we know is happening is that this war has given a veneer of criticism of war, which is really actually anti-Semitism. And so while our city council has no role in foreign affairs, and it appears, I think, to many of my colleague mayors that this is a waste of time, that is not what we've been hired to do, the reality is that we need to muster the strength and the tolerance for the nonsense to stand up and to speak out and to recognize the harm that this does to our community. When my council introduced its anti-Semitic divestment ordinance, I came out strongly within hours, calling it what it was, anti-Semitism, and threatening a veto. And that was enough to have it die in committee. I can't tell you how many of my colleagues I've spoken to that have bemoaned the fact that they have had to waste days of their life listening to testimony on something that they seemingly have nothing to do with, but the reality is that our Jewish community is hurting, and they need to hear from their local elected leaders that we stand with them and that we are brave enough to speak out against hateful rhetoric and uninformed and often thinly veiled anti-Semitism in our community. And so we will continue to do that in Providence. I know that my colleagues who are here will do the same, and we will spread the word to the mayors who aren't here. Thank you so much for this recognition tonight and for your hard work.
Thank you to Mayor Smiley and Mayor Cantrell. On October 7, 2023, Natalie Sanandaji was visiting Israel and attended the Nova Music Festival near Kibbutz Re'im with a group of friends. What she endured that day is a horrific story that she will share with us. But Natalie also channeled her pain into purpose. She now serves as a public affairs officer for the Combat Antisemitism Movement, dedicating herself to the fight against hate. Please welcome Natalie.
Good evening. I want to start off by saying thank you to all of you for taking the time to be here tonight. I want to share my story with you all. I'm an American Jew born to Israeli and Iranian parents. In my father's early 20s, he fled Iran to escape the rising anti-Semitism that preceded the Islamic regime's ascent to power, seeking safety and building a new life in New York. I grew up as a proud Jewish woman, living a good life in one of the world's greatest cities, which happens to be in Nassau County. I worked in real estate. I hosted a podcast about life in the Persian Jewish community and filled my days with friends, parties, travel. I loved my life in New York. It was a vibrant, fulfilling, and secure life. On September 12th, 2023, I traveled to Israel for what I thought would be a joyful vacation. My mom, like many others who are a bit superstitious, never let me fly on September 11th, so I flew out the next day. The trip was to celebrate a friend's wedding, spend time with family, and enjoy a typical Israeli summer. Among my plans for that summer was to attend the Nova Festival, a nature-based event known for its beauty and sense of harmony. On October 6th, my friends and I packed our tents, supplies, and excitement, and headed to the desert for what we believed would be a weekend of love and music. We arrived at the festival at around 1 a.m. At around 3:30, we decided to take a nap and rest at our campsite and wake up for the sunrise set of the festival, which is typically supposed to be the most exciting part. At around 6:30, instead of waking up to the sound of the sunrise set music, we were woken up by the sound of rockets. One of the girls from our campsite alerted us to what was going on. She said, "Good morning, guys. I just wanted you to know that a few rockets have been intercepted overhead. But it's fine. It's normal for the area that we're in. It'll probably just be a few and it'll pass and the party will continue." Now try to imagine a scenario anywhere else in the world where music festival participants would react so calmly to rocket fire. It simply wouldn't happen. But unfortunately for Israelis, this is their grim reality. As the rocket fire continued and intensified, the festival security shut off the music and asked everyone to please evacuate to their cars. My friends and I got in our car to drive away, but we soon realized that the danger we faced was much more than just a few rockets. After hearing the sound of gunfire, we understood that there were armed terrorists on the loose and that we were being hunted. In that moment, I disassociated. My mind shielded me from the sheer terror, making it feel like I was floating outside my body. It was a type of survival mode, and yet it felt surreal, as though it wasn't happening to me. We fled our car, later destroyed, and ran for hours. There was no map to safety, no way of knowing which direction might lead to life and which might lead to death. We faced what Holocaust survivors called choiceless choices, moments where any decision could be fatal, yet you had to choose. After hours of running, exhausted and desperate, we sat under a tree with others to catch our breath. That's when a pickup truck appeared. We froze. Was this the end? Was this a terrorist coming to kill us? Instinct told us to run, but with nowhere to go, we sat back down and braced ourselves for the worst. But it wasn't the end. A man from the nearby town of Patish had driven into the danger zone to save us. He brought us to safety and immediately returned to rescue others. His courage will stay with me forever. I survived that day, but more than 360 fellow festival goers did not. They were brutally murdered, raped, and dozens more were kidnapped into Gaza. Since then, my life was split into two. There's the person I was before October 7th and the person I am now, haunted by the memories of that day and forever changed. I grew up in Long Island, where one of the largest Jewish communities in America thrives. I never felt the need to hide my identity. The first time I was told to conceal my Judaism was during a visit in Europe. In France, my family friends advised me to hide my Star of David necklace, and I witnessed a stranger making an anti-Semitic gesture on the train. But today, that fear has reached home. For the first time, I've seen my friends in America tucking away their necklaces and removing their mezuzahs from their doorways. Since October 7th, Jews have been attacked twice. First by Hamas terrorists who sought to slaughter as many Jews as possible, and then by demonstrators around the world who celebrated Hamas's barbarity. This terrifying reality has changed my purpose. I now dedicate my life to standing up against anti-Semitism in all its modern forms through my work with the Combat Antisemitism Movement. What happened on October 7th was the greatest tragedy for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. We must not forget the victims, those who died, those who were taken hostage, and those like me who survived but will never be the same. As both a survivor of October 7th and an Iranian Jew, I understand better than most the hate and violence that we're seeing today are not just reactions to attacks, but part of an elaborate, ongoing plan to spread hate, very similar to what was happening in Iran prior to the rise of the current regime. Since that day, I have faced further close encounters with anti-Semitism. I was in Amsterdam 3 weeks before Israeli soccer fans were brutally attacked, and in Dubai just a week before a Chabad rabbi was murdered for simply being a Jew. I often joke that a higher power is trying to tell me to stop traveling and stay in one place. But these incidents have only solidified what I have been saying since the beginning of the war. As a Jew, I feel safer in Israel, even at a time of war, than I do anywhere else in the world. This is not just an American problem or an Israeli problem. It's a global crisis. Jews everywhere face growing hate, and there's only one small piece of land, barely the size of New Jersey, where we call home. Yet the world constantly denies us our ancestral right to it. Mayors, I don't expect you to solve the global anti-Semitism, but I do ask this. Ensure that Jews in your cities feel safe. Let them know that they have a place in your communities. Never again is now, and we cannot wait for another tragedy to occur in order to take action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing your story. It's a powerful reminder of why we're all here and the impact we can each make together. On that note, we are wrapping up tonight's dinner. A couple of housekeeping notes. There's going to be a QR code somewhere for everybody to join a WhatsApp group. And tomorrow, the opening session kicks off at 8:30 in the ballroom. I've been told one secret to great leadership is starting as early as possible. That and a lot of coffee. So for those who prefer tackling the day well-fed and hydrated, breakfast will be served right here at 7:45 a.m. Good night, everyone.